Hi, my name is Carol Hassler, and I'm a librarian at the Wisconsin State Law Library. In this short webinar, we're going to go over some of the basic things to know when you're responding to a legal reference question. You've probably handled legal reference questions before. You may have helped your library's users to find a specific law or learn how to represent themselves in court, or even investigate how to create a will. The area of legal reference is pretty broad, and the help you can provide is going to vary depending on the types of sources you have available. Some questions are easily answered with free online information created by a government entity, and others are best answered with specialized legal sources. No matter what type of information you can help your users access, the basics of evaluating sources and the limits you face as a librarian in terms of how you can respond to these types of requests is consistent. Self-represented or pro se litigants are terms often used for people navigating the legal system on their own. They may be thinking about filing a court case or responding to a lawsuit or involved in appeal or something else. Many people represent themselves in court actions. So common areas include family law, like divorce or child custody, legal name or gender marker changes, landlord-tenant issues, consumer issues, and small claims actions. These types of terms are often also applied to people researching a legal issue generally. For example, someone wanting to know how to plan their will and estate. Self-represented individuals may find the court system intimidating. They may look to government staff, legal assistance organizations, and librarians for help. As technology and information hubs, libraries are natural partners to help connect people to legal information. Law libraries and extensive legal collections can be helpful, but many people in Wisconsin do not live near a law library, and public librarians may take on this role. As librarians, we're limited in how much we can help people with their research. Medical care, taxes, the law, these are all examples of areas where helping users may seem fraught with challenges. There are a lot of ways we can help without overstepping the boundary of librarian. When we talk about serving our users, it's important to acknowledge that not all libraries can serve users at the same level. Popular legal research databases and books may be beyond what your library can afford, and many things are not available online. But we can still do a lot to help people, and the first step of that is the standard reference interview. If legal research was as easy as refining the questions and pointing someone to a source, we wouldn't be holding this webinar. Legal reference can be difficult to provide because there's a line we need to be careful not to cross, and that line is the unauthorized practice of law. Sometimes that line is clear, and sometimes it seems like a blurry line you're not sure if you're jumping over. A first step is to learn about what the practice of law is defined as in Wisconsin. Wisconsin Supreme Court Rule 23.01 defines it, and you can read further notes online if you look up the court rule, and you can find it with just a simple internet search for Wisconsin Supreme Court Rule 23.01. Learning what that line is can take some practice. We're going to give some examples and some pointers for how to discuss legal reference questions and things to avoid. Librarians can help by giving legal reference help. The standard reference interview toolbox can help your users to narrow down their research, and we can teach the tools, how to use the databases, and finding aids and books like the tables of contents and indices. Legal research can be complicated, but the good news is that there's a lot more information available online from official channels like government agencies and courts than ever before. During the reference interview, try to get a question from your user that you can answer. Pay attention to keywords. A question like, "I'm trying to see my kid," is a simple starter question that needs more detail. Is there an open or closed divorce case? Has paternity been established? Is there an out-of-state order? These types of refinements may all be important to helping your users find what they need. Break their question down into parts and repeat their question before you search. This helps both you and your user set expectations for what you will be doing. Set expectations as well by using disclaimers like, "I'm a librarian, so I can help you find information." One simple one that I use when people call our law library and expect to be speaking with an attorney is, "I'm a librarian and not an attorney. I can help you find information. What are you trying to research today?" If you find a law your patron might want to read, pull it up on a computer or in a book. Many statutes are complicated or long and difficult to read out loud. Be prepared for the follow-up question of, "But what does that mean?" The first thing to know is that you cannot interpret the information you found, nor can you apply it to their situation. Only your user can decide what to do with the information and to determine whether or not it's relevant or useful. "I can't give legal advice" shouldn't be used as an excuse not to provide service. Walking this line can be difficult, so let's talk about some concrete examples of wording to use and to avoid. Learning the rhythms of legal reference involves internalizing some key phrases. Standard disclaimers can be applied to both your services and the information you help your user to find. So the law states, or in general, or this may help answer your question. This form is used for, and of course your standard reference services disclaimer about what you can and can't do in terms of services. Just as important as those standard disclaimers is to learn to avoid some of these common filler phrases. As librarians, we can't give a legal opinion. This is something someone may even ask directly of you, saying something like, "I know you can't give legal advice, but what would you do in this situation?" Sometimes it's necessary to politely reiterate your disclaimers, what you can and can't provide when you're pressed. You may feel a little bit like a broken record, but consistency is helpful when you're handling legal reference questions. Discovering legal forms may be a big part of your legal research questions, and there are a lot of sources you can turn to. I have a very short summary here, but of course you can find a lot more sources online, and there are some great legal research guides on law library websites that help you find legal forms. When handling legal form requests, do not prepare legal documents or complete forms for a patron. Some organizations might have procedures in place for helping people who request an accessibility accommodation, but librarians cannot advise a user how to fill out a form, or interpret what's written in a form, or tell a user to use a specific form. This may sound impossible to juggle, but there are a lot of things that can help. Free legal clinics are excellent resources to help connect your users to people who can help fill out forms and explain court procedures. There's also an organization called the Milwaukee Justice Center who's put some videos online showing examples of some statewide court forms being filled out, which can help demystify the forms experience for many people. And finally, we can find explanations of what some of these forms are for if we just know where to look. So here's an example of a very popular source of forms, the Wisconsin court system forms. And my favorite source for explaining what a court system form is for is simply the form summary on the Wisconsin court system website. You can get a quick summary from the Browse list of forms, and if you select the summary link under the links for the forms, you get a tidy summary of what the form is used for, who fills it out, and how it gets distributed, which can answer a lot of questions for people. When you're navigating forms, some things to do include inform patrons about the existence of court-approved forms, show people how to navigate a particular website. Again, we're teaching the tool, we're helping people navigate those tools. Help people get connected to legal services groups, and help people find books on topics that may have some sample forms for them to take a look at. Things that we can't do when navigating forms for patrons is to prepare legal documents or complete forms for patrons. We cannot advise patrons on how to fill out forms. We can't interpret the language in a form or suggest that a patron use a particular form. Now, one great source for people who have questions about the terminology on a form are the glossaries on the Wisconsin Court System website. Those define a lot of common terms that people might encounter on a form. We're often asked, is this form legal? And we can't answer that question with a yes or no, although we can answer things like, this is the statewide form available through the Wisconsin court system, or this is the form online on the Department of Health Services website. We can tell our users the types of forms we can help them find, like standard statewide forms, or form language written into the statutes themselves, or copies of sample forms from our books or databases. Especially in situations where there's no standard statewide form, we'll say something like, here's some sample forms from books in our collection. You'll need to determine whether you can use these on your own or with the help of an attorney. Also, you can be aware of form vendors that may be reselling or repackaging Wisconsin-specific forms, which are available for free, like court system forms. These court system forms are routinely updated, so be aware of that if you're evaluating any other sources. We all have moments where users may become upset or come to us upset. These can be difficult to navigate. Broadly speaking, your usual de-escalation strategies are great to use in a legal reference situation as well. It might be tempting to fall into empathetic language or affirming responses. However, try to keep your responses neutral while you signal to your user that you're still an active listener. When you're able to determine their question, repeat it so that you and your user are on the same page. Some people may need to tell you their story in detail or discuss feelings before you can uncover their question. Be patient and practice your neutral, guiding responses, and always try to break down larger questions into smaller, more manageable research tasks. Avoid empathy responses that convey value judgments or that may signal the patron that you agree with their legal stance. Librarians should stay true to what a librarian can do, which is to help your users find information. It's up to the patron to read and interpret that information and for them to seek legal advice. If you're researching under pressure, you can get your user started with a general legal source, like the index or online contents for the Wisconsin statutes. Many libraries also have this in print, or a general guide on a very specific legal topic, like a landlord-tenant book. You can do further research while they're working on that, or you can reach out to other librarians, including the State Law Library or UW Law Library, for help in a pinch. When you need help, we encourage you to reach out anytime to a law librarian or refer your user directly to us. The State Law Library fields questions from the public all the time. We're open from Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 4:30, and we take questions by phone or email. The UW Law Library in Madison, their hours vary, but they are open 7 days a week and in the evenings too, and they're a great resource for helping people as well. Please reach out to a law library anytime you have questions, or if you have further questions about how to handle legal reference. Thank you for joining me.